are a really important ecosystem. They do a lot for protecting the coastline. They're really diverse habitats. The main thing that we're really studying is how well they can sequester carbon and recovering from the freeze that we had in January of this year. Hi, my name is Gracen Miller. I'm a junior here in the School of Science and Engineering. I'm majoring in environmental science and minoring in evolutionary biology and education. We mostly study carbon fluxes in mangroves, which means that I get to do a really cool combination of fieldwork and lab work. I feel like I get a really well-rounded experience. So I'm going to show you what it's like, what we do with the sample after we collect it in the field. So the first thing that we do is put it in this refrigerator to store it until we're ready to process it. Once we take them out of the fridge, we put them into tins, and then we put them into these ovens where we dry them out and get all the water out. Then we bring them over here to what's called a ball mill. And so we put it into these canisters, and this basically homogenizes the soil. And that makes it so that when we process it, we're getting a really good overall picture of the soil that we've collected. Once the soil samples are homogenized, then we put them into little silver capsules. So we put about 2 milligrams of soil into these capsules, which is a tiny, tiny bit. We put a tiny bit of water in there, and then we bring it over to the fume hood. We fumigate it, which means that we leave it in the desiccator with a bit of hydrochloric acid, and the acid dissolves any inorganic carbon in the sample. So that's things like seashells and calcium carbonate. We come back over here, we put the silver capsule into a tin capsule, and then we can put it into the elemental analyzer. So what this does is tells us the amount of carbon in that tiny tin capsule. By knowing how much organic carbon is in the soil, gives us an idea of how much carbon is being stored by the mangroves. So by comparing these things, it can inform restoration projects. So in Mexico, we have collaborators who do restoration and a lot of community work. So the data that we collect and the soil that we analyze will inform their projects, which I think is really cool. I always knew I wanted to major in environmental science. I reached out to a professor, and she gave me a list of names to contact to get involved with research, and this lab was just the most interesting to me. I'm really passionate about it. I've learned to really love it. I feel like I could definitely see myself sticking with what I've learned from this lab.